We are back from recess. Let's go with ordinances on final reading. Madam Clerk, item 8 on the list.
An ordinance de-annexing Lot 34A adjacent to the current city limits, which is located at 7902 Holly Hills Drive, tax map number 149FD005, owner Guy Shawana, Pacey's Ferry Builders within the city of Chattanooga and Hamilton County, Tennessee.
All right. Councilman Ledford.
Move to approve final reading.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, if there's no questions from council, we'll take items B and C as a group. All right, Madam Clerk.
Item B, an ordinance closing and abandoning a sanitary sewer easement beginning at MH number S118K036, following the easement through MH numbers S118K006 and S118K007, and the MH number S118K008 for a total of 845 feet, tax map number 118KA046.01 is shown on the attached map, subject to certain conditions. Item C, an ordinance closing and abandoning a sanitary sewer easement beginning at MH number S168H045 and ending at MH number S168H046, tax map numbers 168AP003 and 004, as shown on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
All right, council.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Ordinances on the first reading, item A.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 10, Section 10-5, relative to the exclusion of Fire District Area 12.
All right, council, you've heard the reading. Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. On the planning, item B. And Madam Clerk, please read the alternate version.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1137 Old Pineville Road from R1 residential zone to R3 residential zone, subject to certain conditions.
All right, is there an applicant present? Can I see the applicant? Any opposition present? See opposition, Councilman Henderson.
Ms. Rennick to come give a presentation, and then we'll follow that by the applicant and the opposition.
Okay, this is a request to rezone 1133 and 1137 Old Pineville Road from R1 residential zone to R3 residential zone for proposed use of multi-unit residential. Request is to build apartments that are part of a larger development along Old Pineville Road. So 1133 is to the south, 1137 to the north. The property shown in brown is the R3 residential zone. Property shown in yellow, the light yellow, is R1 residential zone. So the rezoning is only for a larger part of an overall development. So I'm going to flip back and forth here. You kind of see the triangle piece and then kind of the boxier shape. You'll see it here too. So the site plan submitted, it's showing this as being a larger portion, a portion of that larger R3 zone property along Old Pineville Road. The surrounding development form consists of medium to large suburban single-unit residential lots with on-site parking, multi-unit residential apartment developments ranging from 174 to 280 units with on-site parking and amenities. Those properties along Pineville Road, which is to the west, are higher than Old Pineville Road, and you can see that as this is topography with the darker shades of orange representing more sloping topography, but just to kind of get a feel of how the apartments sit above the Old Pineville Road site. So staff found that the request to rezone to R3 is compatible with surrounding land uses, development form, and zoning in the area. The request is an extension of an existing zone. It's for those two smaller properties that are proposed to be part of a larger R3 zone multi-unit family development. There's no adopted land use plan for the site to offer policy guidance on the introduction of higher density along Old Pineville Road. So staff recommends no further expansion of the R3 zone in this area without future plan guidance, and staff recommended approval. This case has been deferred. It shows on the agenda it's been deferred. It council 9/12, 10/10, and 11/14. So several months ago, I guess that would have been the August Planning Commission meeting. There was opposition present. The concerns expressed there were regarding stormwater, fire access along Old Pineville Road, noise, traffic, flooding, and then just activity from the apartments at the top of the hill. Planning Commission found the request is compatible with the comprehensive plan, development form and adjacent land uses of the area. Is not compatible with the plan, development form and adjacent land uses, and Planning Commission recommended to deny the rezoning for those two properties.
All right. Councilman Henderson, you said,
So Karen, could you go back, showing the layout of those, that right there, that one? That existing R3 zone property where he does show some multifamily dwellings. I think there was some question about whether that was properly zoned or not. And this may have been a question for Dallas and LDO, but could you confirm that LDO sent Mr. Weiss a letter confirming that this property was zoned R3 for multifamily?
We advised that Mr. Weiss pursue a zoning letter. My understanding is he did receive a zoning letter. I did not ask the specifics of what the zoning letter were.
Okay. I think I saw a copy of one that came from, and so that's a letter, I guess, that LDO would issue maybe when there's a dispute or you don't know what the land is zoned. But the letter that I saw confirmed that was zoned R3, which would permit multifamily in that area where he shows those multifamily development.
This is a screenshot of the zoning map, the digital zoning map, which shows that as R3 also. And I understand there might be a question about that, but we have not seen any, we do not see that that's not currently zoned R3, but we're happy to do further research if needed.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
all right. All right, Councilman Henderson, and you would like to hear from the applicant and opposition?
Please.
All right, applicant, if you want to come up, can we have 7 minutes on the clock?
Good evening, everyone. I guess I'll start. My name is David Fidati. I'm the representative for Wise Construction and Development. I guess the first thing I can answer is Councilman Henderson had a question regarding a zoning letter, which we did receive, that confirmed that the zoning was in fact R3 and it went through the appropriate channels to become R3. I don't have a lot to add as far as the presentation that Ms. Rennick presented. Our goal is to create a project that continues kind of along the same vein as what we have done up in that area in the past. Blends with residential pretty well. It doesn't have any, the amenity areas are things like dog parks and an exercise facility. It's not, there's no storefront, there's no, it just kind of continues along with the idea of a neighborhood. Some of the concerns, if I understood everything correctly, from the Regional Planning Commission, the reason for the reason for denying was primarily related to access for life safety vehicles. We have, just to confirm and figure out what we could do to mitigate those concerns, met with Fire Marshal Michael Wright. And there, we will be required to widen the area in front of, our access, in front of our property. However, beyond that, he did not find the site to be, to have any impediments for fire and life safety access. The surrounding properties, as you saw, are already R3, not all of them, but a significant portion of them, especially the ones that are on the same side of the street. My understanding is that I had an opportunity to meet several of the neighbors personally since that initial meeting, and there was either some miscommunication, misunderstanding, misinformation, whatever the case, and since then we have actually had been able to develop a good relationship with several of the neighbors along Old Pineville Road who are not opposed to this project. One of the big sort of part B of that was one of the big concerns that we were able to address pretty easily was the idea of having these looming buildings since they are at a higher elevation. And the plan, if you see, it's not much of a plan, but it's a general site plan, shows that the parking would be there would be access from Delawana, which, you know, kind of comes around from Old Pineville, and the other entry exit area would be farther down, but the parking that would be right along Old Pineville Road, in order to keep the buildings far enough set back to where it was not just looming over anyone's home, and that was a big piece of it for several folks. I believe that's about all I have. We believe that this is going to add value to the neighborhood, and we hope to continue working with the neighborhood through the process of this project.
Madam Chair, I've got a follow-up question for Mr. Fedotto. Mr. Fedotto, you do understand that I'm going to, well, at least at this point, offer an alternate version. In fact, that was what was read.
Yes.
That would approve 1137, but would essentially deny the other 1133.
Yes, and I didn't want to. I didn't know when I should bring up various pieces, but yes, while that is not what we had hoped for, that is certainly something that we would be happy to do as a compromise with the neighbors in order to, adjust the scope of the project. It wouldn't change the overall amount of units very much, but it would create just one entrance and one exit only on Delawana, not on Old Pineville, and it would not continue on to the very edge of the current property currently owned.
And this alternate version does have two conditions. One, that you'd have no access directly onto Old Pineville from the multifamily dwellings, and it would limit them to 3 stories in height.
Yes, sir, and we would be okay with those conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And is it all from the applicant, Councilman Henderson? All right, we do have, thank you so much, Mr. Fedotto. Opposition, if you would come up, and if we can have 9 minutes on the clock, please.
Good evening, City Council members. I'm Valerie Epstein. I'm an attorney, and I'm here voicing the concerns of the neighbors in this neighborhood. I also own property directly adjacent to one of the parcels that John Wise wants to rezone. Just to put this into context, if you recall the image that I think Karen put up on the screen, there's a couple things going on. So this area, although it says it's zoned R3, what I think the council needs to know is that in 1979, there was only a special permit that was granted where Hayden Place Apartments sit today on a 6.25 area parcel. And the city council at that time only granted R3 to that upper parcel. And the reason why it's relevant is because when you look at this parcel today, the area that Mr. Wise is trying to build in is the lower parcel. And this lower parcel is all single-family homes. There is no multifamily development. It's a small dead-end road sitting in a valley with Delawana on one side, which is very steep, hard to get up, and a blind turn on the other side. I don't think that this lower parcel was ever intended to be R3, and the reason why it's relevant is because the developer has been going around and saying, well, we can do whatever we want to on this R3. And these two little parcels that we're trying to rezone don't really make a difference. But actually they do make a difference because none of this area in the lower part of Old Pineville Road should be R3. And contrary to what Mr. Fedati said here on behalf of Mr. Wise, it was rejected by the zoning board. It's been rejected by the planning board. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read you from an 11/16 meeting staff report. It says, where is there a traffic study that justifies 791 daily trips on Old Pineville Road? Why did the staff recommend approval? Pineville Road, Old Pineville Road is too narrow for parking on the side of the road, and John Wise told the residents that visitors will have to park on the side of the road. This was at a September 5th meeting at Hayden Place. So this community consists only of single-family homes. The Hayden Place is up at the top. We're talking about zoning for the lower area, and none of the residents, despite what he says, the residents do not want this development to take place. They do not want the zoning to take place. You cannot, it's unsafe. Delawana is very steep. There's, like I said, there's a blind spot going from Old Pineville Road onto Pineville Road. It's not compatible with the development comprehensive plan, and that was by the city report. There's been no traffic study. The slope, and this is by the city themselves, the slope is between 26 and 45%, and my understanding is that where Hayden Place sits up on Pineville Road, that below it, they actually had sliding from where he dug into the side. You don't see it now because it's covered in kudzu. This will significantly change the character of this neighborhood, and it's going to prevent a big problem with any kind of emergency vehicles coming in and out. Now, I don't know who Mr. Fedati spoke to, but I actually have spoken to Mr. Wright also with the fire department, and he said that at the current time he would deny that a fire or an ambulance could get in and out of that area safely. Even if they were to put additional restrictions to go in and out of Delawana, people will not go up Delawana. It's very steep. They will turn right onto Delawana and come right onto Old Pineville Road. So while I understand that maybe Councilman Henderson is trying to be accommodating to the developer, it's not going to change the fact that we're going to go from a single-family neighborhood with maybe 15 cars, and I'll finish my sentence, to 791 car trips a day.
All right, thank you.
Which is very unacceptable.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, Councilman Henderson.
Let's have the applicant's 2-minute rebuttal.
All right, applicant, you have 2 minutes. Can I get 2 minutes on the clock?
Okay. There are, I guess, a couple things I'll address as quickly as I can. One is that I actually have emails from Michael Wright saying that, upon approval of a site plan, which would include widening the road, which we would commit to do, that he would approve said plans. Related to the zoning, the purpose of the zoning letter, so far as I understand, is to verify that the zoning was done correctly, so therefore the R3 is accurate and in force. Related to traffic study, we've both just heard that there was no traffic study and that also somehow it would add 730 some cars, even for an apartment complex of about 100 units. So that number is not verifiable, nor is it accurate. So that is, I unfortunately just don't know where that came from. We have never in any meeting suggested that people would be parking along Old Pineville Road. That wouldn't be necessary. The parking, as you can see from the general site plan, would be on it would self-park. And that would be enforced. We have management plans in place for those things. Residents are required to have stickers, and there are visitor passes that are required. So that we would not add to any potential traffic hazards by having anyone park on Old Pineville Road. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Henderson, I do have a light from Councilman Ledford.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Councilman Ledford.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to point out that during the opposition time, the timer did reflect only 5 minutes.
It did?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right, thank you.
I was watching, so there is a remaining 4 minutes if the
Okay.
opposition needed it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, if you want to have the additional 4 minutes, you're welcome to it. Or if there's additional opposition, there's an additional 4 minutes available. Yeah, you can come on. You can put 4 minutes on the clock, please.
Good evening. My name's Carolyn Massengale, and I'm directly across where they're talking about putting the property, the one section that they want to rezone. As far as emergency vehicles on the road, my next door neighbor has had multiple issues. She's 100-year-old, and the ambulances have been able to get in there, and so has the firemen, and so has all of the police and everything. And 2 weeks ago, my mother passed out in my driveway. She's 91. The ambulances had no problem getting in and out. Neither did the fire department or the police department. I was originally against all of the rezoning until I actually saw the plans, the way the plans are set up. Those apartments are going to be directly across from my home. And I don't feel like it's going to really hurt anything being on the hill where it's at. As far as we were worried about all of the traffic, like I said, I don't know where they come up with 700 and something cars for 100 apartments. But I do know my son did live at Hayden Place several years ago. They're very strict about their parking. There is no parking on our street. In fact, some of the neighbors there on our street, they do have people come over and have like football parties and things like that, and they have their friends park on the road. It's not a problem on Old Pineville Road. If there is a parking issue, we can address that at that time, but right now, I don't feel like that should be the reason for the apartments not to go in. I originally, like I say, I was against it, but after seeing the plans and speaking to Mr. Weiss and speaking to the councilman, I don't feel like there's an issue with these apartments. And I've spoke to several of my neighbors. They agree with me now that they know that it's going to be done a different way than what was perceived originally.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, there's a minute and 50 seconds left for any additional opposition. All right, I don't see anyone else. Councilman Henderson, and thank you so much, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, one thing I've noticed about sitting up here in this chair is you seldom have good options. You're left to choose the best bad option. And that's what we've got in this situation. We could deny the request completely, but I think by doing that, that could cause the development of 4-story apartments, which I don't think would be in the best interest of the community. Going with splitting the baby, approving one and denying the other, I think might be the best bad option that we have, because it does allow Mr. Weiss to spread the development out a little bit. The reason I asked for 3-story cap on there so that they don't tower over the homes below and it prevents direct access onto Old Pineville. So I'm going to make a motion at the direction of the city council. I'm going to move to substitute the original version with the alternate version, which only includes the approval of 1137 Old Pineville Road, subject to two conditions. That's in the form of a motion.
All right, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All right, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries with the alternate version. With the two
Okay, so now,
Yes, if city attorney can read the two conditions.
And the two conditions to this rezoning would be that there will be no access to Old Pineville Road for a multifamily residential development or related uses, and any structure will be limited to 3 stories in height only.
All right, thank you.
now that we have moved to substitute, I am going to move for the substituted version.
All right. Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Henderson. Madam Clerk, item C.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 1923 Hamel Road from R4 Special Zone to C5 Neighborhood Commercial Zone.
All right, is there an applicant present? Is there an applicant? Any opposition present? All right, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In Councilman Smith's absence and no comments or concerns, I believe, at our planning committee meeting last week, I will ask for a motion to approve, please.
Okay, I have a motion and proper second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Councilman Ledford.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Clerk, item D.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 2804, 2806, and 2810 South Hickory Street and 1700 East 28th Street from R1 residential zone to O1 office zone, subject to certain conditions.
All right, is there an applicant present? Any opposition present? Okay, Councilman Ledford.
Applicant.
Oh, I see applicant? Yes, ma'am. Okay, and I don't need, you don't have to get up right now, yeah. We have an applicant, opposition, and this is in District 7. I don't need a presentation at this moment. Councilman Ledford?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We also covered this in committee last week. I would just like to ask the gentleman if you were knowledgeable of the conditions.
Sir,
Are you knowledgeable of the conditions?
am I knowledgeable?
The conditions?
Yes.
The conditions? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
You are?
Very much.
Okay, you're amenable?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Be in court.
Thank you, very good. Madam Chair, I do move for approval.
All right. Wait, that needed to be, if it could be deferred until January the 16th.
It is your desire to defer this?
Yes, please.
My apologies.
That's all right. Thank you.
Different note from our committee meeting.
Yes.
So something must have developed, that happens. What date?
Deferred to January 16th if possible.
Okay, I rescind that motion, and that motion is to January 6th?
16th.
16th, my apologies. Thank you.
All right.
That's form of a motion.
Thank you, Council. Second. All right, it's been motioned and properly second to defer until January the 16th. Any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Councilman Ledford. I appreciate you. Madam Clerk, item E.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 608, 614, and 4 unaddressed properties in the 600 block of Central Avenue from R3 residential zone to UGC urban general commercial zone, subject to certain conditions.
All right, this is in District 8. Councilwoman Knoll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Make a motion to defer until January the 16th, that the developer will be able to meet with the neighborhood association, which their meeting is January the 10th.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, item F.
An ordinance to amend
I'm
Chattanooga.
sorry, Madam Clerk, I apologize. For item E, was there an applicant present? Okay, was there any opposition present?
No.
Okay, all right.
They weren't supposed to.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Madam Clerk, item F.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 824, 830, and 910 Dodson Avenue from C2 Convenience Commercial Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
All right, is there applicant present? Is there any opposition present? All right, that's in District 8, Councilwoman Knoll.
Madam Chair, move to defer until January the 9th.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second to defer. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, item G.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 2722 and 2724 Cannon Avenue from R1 residential zone to R3 residential zone, subject to certain conditions.
Okay, is the applicant present? Any opposition present? All right, I don't see an applicant or opposition. This is in District 8, Councilwoman Knoll.
Madam Chair, move to defer to January the 9th.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comment or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We've moved to resolutions on the economic development. If there's no opposition from council, we'll take items A and B as a group. All right, Madam Clerk.
Item A, a resolution declaring surplus of the 1.44 acre portion of the property at 1195 Grove Street, further identified as a portion of tax map number 145 FA004. Item B, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of $146,222.22 from Hamilton County as the city portion from the September 2023 Hamilton County surplus property sale, with $145,025.78 applied as the city's portion of $418.72 applied to city attorney's fees and $777.72 applied to city treasurer costs.
All right, you've heard the reading, council. It's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Human Resources, item C.
A resolution authorizing the execution of a health services agreement between the City of Chattanooga and One-to-One Health LLC for preventative wellness, disease management, health consultation, occupational health, and/or primary care services.
All right, Councilman Ledford.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly seconded. Any comments or questions? Councilwoman Knoll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to amend.
All right. Okay. Did you have the language?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to amend Article 11, non-solicitation, Section 11.1B, which shall be revised as follows. One-to-One Health agrees that it will not employ any employee of client who served on the evaluation committee for the request for proposal issued by client in connection with this agreement for a period of at least 3 years from the start date.
Second. All right, that amendment has been motioned and properly second. Do we have any comments or questions? Ryan, did you have any comments?
I just wanted to say that the city strongly endorses this amendment, and that my understanding is that One-to-One Health endorses it as well.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, any additional comments or questions? All right, all in favor of the amendment? Aye. Okay, all opposed? Amendment carries. Okay, can I get a?
Okay. I would like to move as amended.
All right, it's been motioned and properly second to move as amended. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries as amended. All right, Madam Clerk, if there's no opposition from council, we will take items D through H as a group. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Item D, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's reappointment of Daisy W. Madison to the General Pension Board for a term beginning on August 15, 2023, and ending on August 14, 2028. Item E, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's reappointment of Carl Levi to the General Pension Board for a term beginning on August 15, 2023, and ending on August 14, 2028. Item F, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's reappointment of Katie Ryan Smith to the General Pension Board for a term of December 5, 2023, and ending on December 4, 2028. Item G, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's reappointment of Aon Miller to the General Pension Board for a term beginning on December 5, 2023, and ending on December 4, 2028. Item H, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's reappointment of Corey Bishop to the Head Start Governing Board for a term beginning on December 13, 2023, and ending on December 12, 2028.
Right. Okay, I have a motion and proper second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Planning item I.
A resolution approving a special exceptions permit for an institutional plan unit development for the properties located at 1115 Morris Lane and 8606 East Brandon Road, subject to certain conditions.
All right, is there an applicant present? Okay, is there any opposition present? Okay, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This might be a good time to share a little story about this project. This is an institutional PUD, which we do not see very often, but this is a great example of patience and perseverance and communities working together with developers. This project I've personally been watching for over 17 years, vacant property. We've had 5 applications for multitudes of different uses, and this one, by being patient and persevering and involving the community in conversation, from Hurricane Creek to the Reunion neighborhood to the Heaton Drive, and our friends at Christ United across the street, we are putting in a much needed and in step with the Area 11 plan that RPA so worked very hard on putting together for us. So this is going to be a senior living facility with an Alzheimer's unit and also assisted living. And quite frankly, it's probably one of the best projects we could ever ask for out in this area. So with that, I happily move for approval.
All right, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, Madam Clerk, items, if there's no opposition from council, items J and K as a group. All right.
Item J, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to award contract number E22023 Development Resource Center Roof and Solar Project to J. Brennan Construction, Inc. of Dalton, Georgia, in the amount of $1,273,786.66, with a contingency in the amount of $127,378.67, for a total amount of $1,401,165.33. Item K, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to renew on-call blanket contract number D22002-201 demolition services for the Public Works Land Development Office, Code Enforcement Division for year 2 of 4 to Tower Construction LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee, restricted for use only by the Public Works Land Development Office, Code Enforcement Division, for the annual amount of $650,000.
All right, council, you've heard the reading.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Now we have reached purchases. Hey, Ryan.
Good evening, council. We have 5 purchases for your review this evening. The first purchase is from the Street Maintenance Division of our Public Works Department. A 3-year renewal of 5% price increase has been requested to cover the additional costs and operations and transportation with CWS Chattanooga hauling. New estimated annual spend is $971,250. The second purchase from the wastewater department, purchase of Varick Flame Arresters for the digester at wastewater in the amount of $64,773. The award will go to Ecotech, Inc. as a sole authorized distributor for the state of Tennessee. Third purchase from the Fleet Management Division of Public Works. Increase of $31,000 is being requested for the purchase of one additional BMW R1250 RTP motorcycle from Pandora's European Motorsports for the Chattanooga Police Department. The new contract amount for 1 year will be $156,000. Number 4, from the wastewater department, increase of $180,000 due to higher chemical usage during the dry season from Southern Ionics for a total estimated annual spend of $830,000. And purchase number 5 from the wastewater department, an increase of $150,000 due to multiple unexpected safety-related upgrades and repairs being required with Chattanooga Crane and Hoist LLC for a total estimated annual spend of $250,000.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Purchases passed. Ryan?
All right, and also this evening, we have one RFP only for informational purposes to be read into the record from our Human Resources Department. This is a new blanket agreement for on-site medical, wellness, and behavioral services for the city of Chattanooga. This will be a 3-year agreement in the amount of $2,882,105 annually with a one-time implementation fee of $50,000 with a 2% increase annually. The award will be made to One to One Health as the best proposal for the city of Chattanooga.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, council.
All right, we've reached committee reports. Councilman Henderson? Councilman Ledford? All right, Councilwoman Coonrod? All right, Councilwoman Knoll?
No report.
Councilwoman Burrs?
No report.
Madam Vice Chair?
No report.
All right, now we reached the time,
But we did have a Parks and Public Works meeting today.
We-
You were kind enough to leave.
yes, we did, and as Councilman Hester would say, we'll meet again in 2 weeks. All right. And in recognition, now we come to time of recognizing people that would like to address the council. So if you would like to address the council, please line up behind this podium while our city attorney reads the rules.
Sure. And at the end of each council business meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council, and here's your rules. Each speaker wishing to address the council can only be recognized at the microphone up front for that purpose. You can't have more than 3 minutes to speak at this time, and you can only address the council upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority and not upon matters which are not under their authority or regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. Don't engage in any vulgar or obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others. You could only address the council as a whole and not make comments towards individual council members. And lastly, do not engage in disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting which is prohibited under Tennessee law. And someone commits that offense if a person substantially obstructs or interferes with the meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting or gathering. Having stated the law and the rules, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Hi, Laura Margaret Jones, District 5. Last week, the way that the meeting ended concerned me a little bit because Councilwoman Hill, when she was identifying her takeaways, listed one of them as hearing that people wanted more traffic law enforcement, and then related that to a disconnect in also hearing that people want less policing and how it would be interesting to problem solve enforcement without more policing. So I'd like to point out a couple things, that of the 39 people who spoke 2 weeks ago and the 20 some odd who spoke last week, not to mention other people who were in the room in solidarity, remarkably few I recall hearing specifically saying anything about wanting more enforcement. What I did hear is the majority of us asking for immediate implementation of tactical interventions and traffic calming measures in the short term, and in the long term, better designed streets. Which brings me to point 2, that you can actually have both enforcement and not need to increase policing and or even have fewer police, because good design in and of itself is an enforcer. North Market Street, for example, which Ms. Hill lives off of, prior to its redesign, there were regularly cops sitting at the gas station monitoring people for speeding going up and down North Market. And since the redesign, I would wager that there's police presence there significantly less, as there's less speeding up and down North Market. If you're relying on and waiting for police to enforce, that's not a solution. That is a reactive response. And what we are asking for is a proactive solution. That streets that prioritize pedestrians and multimodal transportation require automobiles to move slowly through them as they have to share the road. In the 2 weeks since the death of Anna Rodriguez and her 1-year-old son, Fraser Avenue looks and feels the same. I drive it at least twice a day going to and from work, sometimes also on the weekends, and nothing has changed. So what is it going to take?
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is John LaRosa. I live in District 1. I'm here tonight again to talk about the traffic calming measures on Fraser. This past Sunday, I went to speak with as many of the businesses on Fraser that I could, and the feedback that I got was overwhelmingly positive. I was able to speak with 14 different businesses, and all but one explicitly supported some kind of traffic calming measures. And from speaking to these businesses, there were a few recurring themes in the comments I received. One is that speeding is definitely an issue on Fraser. Many of the businesses talked about cars traveling way too fast for a road with so many pedestrians and bikers. And they also noted that traffic was moving slower and that they were in general all for that. Some of the quotes I got, and I spoke to people who also drove through there, and they said they felt safer moving through Fraser. Collective Clothing said people have been slowing down. Chattanooga said people were going slower, and that slowing people down is better and safer. Journey on the River, David from Journey on the River said people need to be slowed down, and he even said the limit should go down to 20 miles per hour. Emily at Almanac Supply said said that walking around. She's the business owner, but she said that walking around was the safest they had felt of late. The other overwhelming theme was that they're happy something was done. Again, Chattanooga, things are going in the right direction. The AVA Visual Arts business said that they're happy something has happened. David, again, from Journey on the River, he said it's great and it's a start, and he emphasized that we have more to do there. Collective Clothing, Ego Tokyo, Almanac Supply, again, all in favor of it, and we're happy that something was being done. The third big theme was that most of the businesses were not concerned with losing parking spots, and that wasn't an issue with this current implementation, but going forward and something more permanent that could be on the table. And most people said that it's too tight even with those parking spots and the road there. It's dangerous getting out of your car. It's dangerous for cars trying to pass people as they're parking. So, and they also said there's so much parking down next to Coolidge and also in the parking garage on the north side of Fraser. So let me just wrap it up by saying that just concluding with that, the business owners and workers felt safer and supported these measures. So let's take the easy and obvious extra step, and one that I might add, Mr. Henderson, I think is a good option based on this positive feedback of extending this trial for more than just the weekend. That was something that business owners specifically said is let's get more data. So let's extend this for during the week and use that data. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sam Murray. I live a few blocks from Fraser currently. I've lived most of my life in the Chattanooga area and only a few years out of the state. There are fantastic things about living in the state, specifically the city, that make me want to stay. The ease of access to outdoors, low cost of living in my community are a few of the reasons I would love to want to stay in Chattanooga. Unfortunately, I don't want to stay though. Chattanooga has been afraid to rock the boat. We want to project a progressive gig city that attracts young professionals, startups, and let's be real, all of the tax dollars that come with that. But we are too afraid to take bold action when the rubber meets the road, pun intended. Time after time, when this city has taken action, it has been safe and unoffensive action. The plan that is being enacted on Fraser is at best incomplete. It should be extended to 7 days a week instead of just the weekend, and ideally the outer lanes should be closed instead of the inner lanes. I'm tired of living in a city that isn't ready to take bold action. The Fraser Avenue test is a small example of a larger issue the city and state has. Please stop trying to pander to all constituents, afraid to offend. If you believe in something, I ask that you take action that reflects that belief. Be bold, take big action. I said this last week, but I want to reiterate it again. I know your job is hard, and I really do appreciate the sacrifices all of you make to be here to make Chattanooga better. Thank you again.
And thank you. Hi there. Hi again, it's Haley Dunning. I'm from District 1, the public health nerd. I just wanted to reintroduce myself. I just wanted to also reiterate a lot of what my fellow community members mentioned today. One of the confusion of the mention of like more law enforcement and policing also threw me off. I think a lot of us would agree that we don't want that. And so I was a little puzzled by that. And with really thoughtful road design, you're not gonna need to know what the speed limit is. You're not gonna need to have law enforcement catching you speeding to make people wanna slow down. With that thought too, a lot of us afterwards, I remember we were like, what is the speed limit on Fraser? And that just reminds us that humans, we don't look at the speed limit signs that much. We drive how the road is designed. So, I think from seeing the changes that have been made on Fraser over the weekend, it was slowing traffic down and was a great start. I do want to also focus that there wasn't a lot of bicyclists coming through. There still wasn't that being emphasized in the current plan during the weekends. And then also, you know, having it during the week will also be very helpful. There are plenty of roads that go just 2 lanes in during the week that don't have a lot of traffic and still are able to deal with the workflow of all of that. But yeah, so that's all I really had to say today, but thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Karina Miller, District 1, but I grew up on North Shore. Same as the last 2 weeks, I walked to this meeting from Cherokee Boulevard, passing the aftermath of the accident at Fraser. On Saturday, I was able to witness firsthand the decrease in vehicle speeds from the temporary changes that the city made. Again, thank you so much for that. It was wonderful. During my commute today, that was not the case. Fraser and Cherokee drivers were entirely back to their normal behavior, blocking crosswalks, making illegal and dangerous turns, speeding, and generally endangering pedestrians. I agree with all the comments made before me. Please extend the traffic study to every day of the week. Please act to ensure that we are just as safe on Fraser when walking to City Council on a Tuesday as we are on the weekends. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Corey Evett, District 5. I was going to thank Dr. Burrs because I had escalated some issues about Brainerd Road, and hopefully she'll hear this, but just want to thank her for further escalating those up to CDOT and TDOT. Unfortunately, days after I sent that email, my partner and I were firsthand witnesses of another collision in that same spot. We were the first to call 911 and redirect traffic, but I just want to say a thank you to the first responders that were on that scene. It was an amazing display of calm resolve in that situation, so just kudos to those folks. I also want to thank you, Councilperson Hill, for what you're doing with skating. I'm an aggressive inline skater myself. As you mentioned, that is a design of skate. That is not a behavior of skating. I'm also, I've got hundreds of miles on an e-scooter, and what you're doing to make all modes of transportation safer is very much valued, and I appreciate that. Some very cool news, though, that I wanted to share as I put my CARTA Board of Directors hat on is I listen to all these comments, and like I mentioned last time, I come here primarily to listen because I don't get that kind of opportunity that you all get to hear a lot of this direct feedback about transportation and safety. So I heard the comments and I looked at chattadata.org, and I saw that we have 23% more traffic incidents on Fridays. I saw that we have 30 to 40% more traffic on Fridays. And I saw that second only to Saturdays, we have the most DWIs. So I took those concerns to the CARTA Board of Directors and the CARTA staff. And what we're implementing in the winter months coming up is First Fridays. And that is the first Friday of each month, CARTA is going to be absolutely free. So it's going to be an opportunity for folks that ride CARTA now to be rewarded. If you've never ridden before, this is your chance to hop on. You don't have to worry about the fare box. You just jump on. I think you'll see a lot of communication about this go out this week, but I'll also personally send you some graphics and promotional material if you want to share to your constituents. I would really much appreciate it. So thank you all.
Oh, well, thank you, Corey. Thank you. Yes. All right.
Hi, Council. My name is Gino Wallace. I own Gino's Salon on the North Shore. And I want to thank you for taking action with the new traffic calming measures. In being there over the weekend and speaking to my fellow business owners in the North Shore, it has made an impact. As much as we would like to see further testing done during the week, there are obstacles in our way that stop us from being able to receive our goods, to be able to provide services to the public. So there's a litany of things that we have to consider before a full implementation of a complete change. And I believe that we will look at any and every avenue that is available to make sure that Fraser Avenue is a safer place. And in listening to everyone's comments in the previous meetings and today, at some point, we as citizens must find ourselves culpable in aiding in traffic incidences. When we disobey basic fundamental traffic laws set in place to help protect a multimodal environment, the fault falls fully on us. Our cities and government can put in place a litany of calming measures, but they have no control in stopping someone from making bad choices and stupid mistakes when they get behind the wheel of any kind, a car, a bicycle, a scooter, or even their own two legs. It is ultimately up to us to aid in creating a safer public environment by making a conscious effort, being committed in changing our behavior and ensure we make appropriate choices to drive the speed limit, obey common pedestrian vehicular traffic laws, don't drive distracted, stop driving impaired, and no angry, aggressive driving. The public should be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And with additional, I haven't reviewed traffic law since 1986. And things have probably changed and evolved, and we all need to be brought up to date because our calming measures will play a big part in how everyone else reacts around us on the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Grant. I live in District 7. Just came up here to reiterate what I said last week and what many of the people said before me. I'm really grateful action was taken. I'm grateful action was taken so quickly. And I really liked what I saw this weekend so far, but I really would like to see it, if not even week long, just maybe like a Monday and a Friday or a Tuesday and a Thursday. Because I see this sort of like pilot program having two purposes. The first is to test it, a lane closure before a more permanent solution, in which case you'd want the test conditions to match the permanent solution conditions as much as possible. A permanent solution will be there 7 days a week, not just 2 days a week. And the other reason I see is safety. The tragic incident that spurred this occurred on a weekend, but there was nothing intrinsic about that made it so it had to happen on a weekend. Could have happened on a weekday. And I felt safer when I was walking on Fraser on Saturday and Sunday. And I'd like to feel that safe when I walk there later today and yesterday and tomorrow. And I'd also like to reiterate that, enforcement, I've heard enforcement's a great Band-Aid solution. It attacks the symptom of the problem, which is aggressive driving, but the root cause is poor road design that encourages people to drive faster than they should and more unsafe. You'll always have very few outliers that always drive horrible, and that's what enforcement is best at. But when you have a roadway that's designed so that, the natural speed you feel like going is above the speed limit, that's a roadway design issue, not an enforcement issue. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
My name's Charlie Wysong. I live on Robin Drive. I want to just tell you of a great occasion this week. Sunday, my wife and I have been married 50 years, and so we celebrated our 50th anniversary. We have 15 children, no adoptions and no twins. We now have 51 grandchildren, expecting number 52 and 53. A little different, I understand. But I teach parents how to raise children. And with some things that have happened with my children are so unusual, they need to be, somebody needs to say something, so I thought I would. When we were married 13 years, we had 9 children. We lived right beside Macaulay School. We had a 2-story house there and very little money. And our oldest child was 12 years old. And he organized the other children to put on a dinner for us. And so in the living room, there was a single table with a candle set for dinner. And the children were the cooks, they were the waiters, and it was really nice. And so if you can imagine, Sunday, they decided to do it again. So we walked into the house, they asked us when we were going to be home after church, and so we said 8:15, so they had this, someone meet us at the door, they had somebody escort us to the table, and we had a nice meal. But I tell you this, one of the things I've done, and if I could I hand those to them, please? But one of the things I've done, I wrote a brochure. I went to a military school like Macaulay was back in the early days, and they asked me to speak to my class at our reunion, which I thought was a nice honor. And I wrote this brochure, and I told how we had raised our children. And I talked to the chief about a year ago, and I told her, I said, that's all we did to raise our children. And I'm very grateful to God for blessing my wife and me and giving us the children we have. And somebody asked me the other day, said, how many of them are following the Lord? I said, all of them. And they said, all of them? I said, all of them. And my children aren't perfect, no more than their father is perfect. And but I'm very grateful we live in Chattanooga. It's been a great joy for us to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say to Charlie, always good to see you. People ask me all the time, how are we outpacing statewide and national trends here in Hamilton County's growth population? And I think we know now.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
Good to see you, sir.
Yes. So thank you so much, Councilman Ledford. All right, council, I don't see anyone else wishing to address council. What's your pleasure? Meeting adjourned.